Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play the Misadventures of Tron Bonne. In the last part, we got our loan extended because Loth is a dick, and now it's time for us to go after more missions for the first of potentially 3 of these videos in pretty short time span because we hit 270 subs, we hit 280 subs, and we also just had the channel's 9th anniversary. This video is for the 3rd of those because it's the most recent of the 3 things. Whoops. Procrastination's one hell of a bitch. As is spending way too much time platinuming Yakuza 3, then 4, then playing Bloodstained, then Resident Evil 3, then Atelier Riza. I've had a lot going on. Either way, what you want to do at this point in the game is, if you can, get any brain cubes onto number 27, because then you can unlock the grenade skill from. The grenade skill set goes alongside the bazooka skill set that certain other serve bots have throughout the game, which plays very well into the RPG set of levels. More on why later, even though I don't bring any in because I'm trying to get the brains of others higher. But you can also talk to him to get the high-density tank, and talk to number 24 at this point on the deck to get the flyer. One of those is definitely more important than the other, but since I'm going for 100%, might as well show off both. Also, I like how her sprite animates on the deck. I don't know why. That's a nice detail. Now, the flyer in particular, we want to give to number 35 because it unlocks one last color scheme for the Gustav.
Hey, look at this! Looking at this flyer made me think. Don't you think the Gustav would look good if we painted it with dark colors?
That unlocks the dark color scheme, which is the dark Mega Man color scheme from Mega Man Legends 1 if you did enough bad karma stuff in that game. Not a bad color scheme and one I've used on occasion, but again, for this LP, I'm sticking with the box standard pink, just since I feel it fits better. Now it's time to talk about number 40. He, at this point, is just counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all he ever says. But we got the design magazine last part, I believe. And if we give it to him, we unlock his skill. Huh? And he gains a special skill, design. Just look at these curtains. This won't do. We have to change it right away. That is a censoring thing. The design magazine in Japan has a different sprite, and it's very clearly implied to be either a Playboy or some other sort of pornographic material. Instead, the skill name in Japan is H, meaning he's a perv. Whoops. I don't know why. I actually do like the design idea more, just because it's more out of nowhere comparatively. And either way, once we get our scouting out of the way for this little mission set, it's time for us to head after our first mission of this part, where we're going to be heading off to... I think we're heading back to mission 2? Yeah, because I think we finish off mission 2 this part, the first of the crate stuff. The thing is with the later crate missions is they obviously get more complex, and sometimes they introduce more mechanics, but the biggest difference is often the section of the pier you're in. I heard that a new shipment of containers has arrived at Tesh Harbor. Is that true?
Yes, Miss Tron. This time it was a shipment of flour and coffee.
Okay, you know what to do, right? Let's go.
Roger.
And again, you can bring in basically any serve bot. I just recommend trying to bring in one that's brain stats not maxed out, because there's a chance they could get higher.
Alright, this should be easier now that we've got the hang of it. It's important to know where to move the wooden containers. That's right! Another good trick is to jump over containers to get around them. That way it's easier to move the steel ones. Wow, you're really smart, Miss Tron. The Gustav tank jumps when the X button is pushed. Alright, let's get to work!
Now, that tutorial's a little bit redundant in my case, because I've already started Mission 6, which is just a slightly different variation on this level gimmick. And in Mission 6, they technically require you to jump as it is. With that said, you are meant to technically do all of the Mission 2s and then the Mission 6s, so it's at least understandable. The thing is with the later crate type missions, though, is their difficulty does spike notably because they tend to want you to think more in almost a three-dimensional space in a way rather than the two-dimensional grid, because you need to keep in mind the verticality element because you can just jump over everyone, and it does honestly get very difficult later on. With that said, one thing I don't think I mentioned in either of the times we've done this mission variety before is always make sure you grab the bonus crate. In this case, I think it's coffee. Before the last green crate, because when you grab the last green crate, the stage ends, and you can progress to the next one. And I believe you have the chance to go back then and there, but just always make sure you grab whatever the red crate is before the last green crate. Sometimes you can even grab it first or second, if I'm recalling correctly. And always make sure you're counting how many tiles are on the way back to the ship, because sometimes you'll end up just going the slightly wrong path and, well, you'll run out of space at that point, meaning that you can't beat it. Thankfully, Tron Bonne does do something that Catherine also did, where you can press the start button and there's an option to go back one move, so you can potentially redo a move or reset yourself even, because there is an outright reset option. In fact, you might notice there are times where there's a bit more of a sudden cut at the start of a level. That is me messing up the puzzle and having to restart the level. Admittedly, this is also partially because my practice playthrough is increasingly further away from me at this point. So my memories of some of these stages are starting to kind of crackle and fall apart, at least with the puzzle stages. With the action stages, it's a bit more simple since they're more straightforward. When I have to sit and think for extra time, the further I am from a practice playthrough or even a test, the worse it is. Whoopsie! Now, something I haven't quite commented on too much in this game from my memory, unless I did in, like, the Nakai Ruins, wherever the hell the name was, is this game's soundtrack is really catchy. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Legends soundtrack, although it's definitely the bounciest. My favorite is probably still Legends 1, as minimalistic as that was, just because that town theme, man, that damn town theme. And the reason I say, if I already commented on that before, again, the last video in this series, I think, was uploaded in July. It is currently mid-October? Yeah, I really should just record these ahead of time and then upload them as the times come. The only problem with that is I can't predict what the celebration that we're having is for at that point. I could glean from context in how things are growing, but things are unpredictable. Just take a look at how we thought 2020 was going to be back in, like, this time, 2019, and compared to now, there are some stark differences with how we thought this year would go. Whoops. 2020 is the ride that never stops and I want off. Also, you might notice there is probably going to be a bit of visual differences with this part moving forward compared to the previous ones, and even some auditorial ones, because I realized what was causing some of the audio crackling between videos and managed to fix it, but it also may have messed with the aspect ratio a slight bit of the actual game file, because I'm being a bit more anal retentive about that kind of thing nowadays. Mostly because of one channel that just gave me brain spiders.
That's the last of the containers, Miss Tron. We've got them all. Okay, let's head back to the Gessel shaft. Yes, Miss Tron.
Okay, that's the second of the Mission 2 varieties, though. It's more complicated than the first one. And I would say, honestly, it's probably a little bit harder than Mission 6 Type 1. But it's still easy enough. But now we're having some new things happen. We unlocked the torture room there, and apparently some serve bots are starting to get a little bit lazy. We'll go more into what that is at a later portion of the part, because I wanted to wait until it actually became more relevant. though, so we'll talk about that then.
Hello, Miss Tron. You know, I've been wanting to talk to you about something. What are you doing on my bed?
Anyway, what do you want to talk to me about?
Well, it's about the colors in the Gesellschaft. They're just so bland.
Bland?
That's right. I was thinking we could change them. How about a bright pink, maybe?
I'll think about it. I should note in Japan, I believe the implication is this guy is smelling all her clothes. In fact, I think he even has panties over his head, which, Jesus H. Christ, calm down. Any whoozleby. There isn't much I want to do between that last mission and the next one I want to do, so we're just going to straight up move on into our next mission. And this time around, I figured, screw it, let's get the second dig out mission out of the way, the second RPG. Oh boy, my favorite. On repeat playthroughs. Now, the second one we do at least have some new things going on. Compared to the last one. With that said, I also want to make sure I bring in other serve bots, because we have a new mechanic this time around in the serve bot borer. I'd explain what that is, but when I eventually get to the mission details, the game will anyway. Just make sure you bring in the best sniper you have for this, and if you have anyone that has the grenade or bazooka skill, I recommend you bring them in instead of who I'm bringing in, because I just want to get other people's brains up. The only reason I don't is mostly just because I'm getting tired of not having their brains up at this point.
For this mission, we'll be using the Minibot Finkel. From this mission, one of the serve bots will be driving the serve bot borer. As before, use beacon bombs to tell serve bots where to go and what to do. This time, we're going after the Aurora Stones again. There's still 2 more left in the ruins, so I want you to go get them.
But Miss Tron, we went everywhere we could last time.
That's why I built the serve bot borer. Remember that place in the ruins where the ceiling had collapsed?
Yes, I guess.
Can't you remember anything? Anyway, I want you to use the serve bot borer to dig deeper into the ruins. Don't forget to talk to the diggers and have them help you. Just don't let them get to the treasure first. All right, get going.
Yes, Miss Tron. All right, let's go try out the serve bot borer. We're going to where the cave-in was, right? That's right, let's go! Yes, Miss Tron!
Now, it's around this point in the game, if you've been playing enough of the other missions, you will have noticed a very strange trend in Tron Bonne in that they like to make you replay a level design you've already done. Although in this case, it's just the first 10 seconds-ish of the cave before we get to new stuff, because this is where Dance wanted to use his dynamite a couple parts back.
You want us to dig a hole here, right, Miss Tron? That's right, blast those rocks out of the way! Yes, Miss Tron, ready to begin blasting!
And here's how you use the serve bot borer. Use a beacon bomb, and they dig. That's it. It's just another serve bot that does something slightly different. And it's not a bad combat tool for the few Reaver bots we're gonna have to fight during this. Well, I say few.
Okay, let's move on, but be ready! This is where things get really tricky! Tricky? Okay, Miss Tron, we'll be ready! I hope.
Mind you, I say few, but I mean more few encounters. There's actually, if you go after every room, a lot of Reaver bots in this section. There's just only like 3 or 4 encounters total. As with usual, make sure you check every routes for optional holes you can dig into for Zenny, all the card keys you can, or as you might see now, a little jar there on the ground that when you get too close to it, hit it or use a beacon bomb.
Miss Tron, we found a card key!
Don't interrupt me. Or a jar that has a snake jump out of it. If you're too close to that, the snake will actively damage you. But if you beacon bomb it over and over again, a shitload of Zenny pops out. So make sure you just stay at distance and keep beacon bombing it until the Zenny stops, and hey, you're that much richer. Thankfully, again, the serve bots are also immortal. Why didn't we throw these things at anyone in the plot in Legends? Just, seriously, Mega Man. Take one, chuck it at Mega Man Juno in Legends 1, you're good.
Miss Tron, we found some money! That's great! Keep your eyes open for more!
If being on the internet as long as I have has taught me anything, never underestimate the power of cute and how deadly it can be. Also, kid, How in the hell did you get through this? I had to dig!
My name's Zag. What are you looking for? Find anything interesting yet? Not yet. Why don't you try digging here? You can get through to the other side that way. That was nice of him. Be sure to thank him properly. Thank you. We're surfbots. Nice to meet you. My parents tell me that it's dangerous down here, but it's not that bad. Have you met Uncle Dig?
He's
I have a
dead.
picture of him at my house. Looks like there's lots of places to explore on this level.
Seriously though, kid, how did you get down here? I had to dig through a hole like this one to get there. I mean, I guess you're a kid, you might be able to squeeze through there. But I think self-preservation instincts would kick in at least somewhat before that would happen. Right? Right? Oh no, a Reaverbot. I'll just stay a distance. Also, very minor detail I oddly appreciate about the game right now is that the HUD moves with momentum. I know for some people that's kind of annoying, and I think that can even aid in making some people motion sick, kind of like Doom-induced motion sickness back when that was a very common thing. But I just like that detail. Ooh, a locked chest. This means it's important.
Miss Tron, look! It's a treasure box! Can we use the card key to open it? Alright, here we go! Miss Tron, we found lightning inside! Great! We can use that to make new parts for the glue staff!
Now, in this mission, there's only a few items I outright recommend you go for. The Lightnium is definitely number 1 on that list, and a certain other item is number 2. Most of the other areas we can get things in are card keys, an energy bottle in one case, which I believe I do end up using in this because the boss can kick my ass if you're not ready, and Zenny. A lot of useless Zenny.
My name's Zig. Have you met my brother Zag? We're twins. Twins? Try digging here, in this wall. I bet you'll find something really interesting. All right then, why don't you dig there? Thank you. We'll try digging here. There's something really interesting inside. Can you tell the difference between me and my brother? Dig's pretty cool, but Russell's even better. That bag of his is really neat.
Now, the one kid I can understand. How did 2 kids get in here when there was no way to? Y'all are some magical little kids who can probably go through walls.
Huh? What's this? Oh no! There's Reaverbots everywhere! We're just gonna have to fight our way out!
Admiral Akbar said it best. We have to deal with more of the Reaverbots we saw back in Mission 1, only there is a metric shitload more. My best advice for this is make sure you have someone that has the grenade or bazooka skill, because that'll just make taking care of these Reaverbots that much easier. This is a case where I should have just foregone taking in Reaverbots that didn't have their skills yet and hope they get it in hopes they get the skills instead of just preempting any danger and bringing it in outright. Be careful whenever you hear that little siren sound as well, because that means there is one closing in on you. But otherwise, as long as you stay in the opposite corner from all of them, you should have a good enough lead in that you can either avoid them or send an attack after them. And hey, never underestimate attacking yourself, because the Finkel can do some decent damage just by tackling. It's just that with the right servbot setup, they'll do more damage. Also, there's times where you can hit each other like that, and don't like that, but I get it. Also, and because you can't tell because it's, you know, a trap, you cannot leave here until you take care of every single Reaverbot. And honestly, I feel like this would actually be worth doing if they dropped Zenny, but they don't, so I don't think at least this trap room is worth doing. The next one, because there's 2 of these in this mission, is because of the room that happens after it. Also, holy shit, Did the boar serve bot just multi-track drift? Okay. You know, I just had a moment where I looked at the timestamp and went, oh yeah, we're a third of the way through the video's recording. This is going well. Then I remembered we're in this specific mission for another 20. Honestly, I feel like that might be my biggest issue with the RPG missions. It's, yeah, they're repetitive. Yeah, they're more interesting in first playthroughs because you get to see all the cute dialogue. I feel like they would be more bearable instead of just being 3 long missions if it was, say, 6 smaller ones, so they're more digestible. At least that way there's more of a break in between them and I could potentially intersplice other mission types just to keep the pace at a more reasonable speed rather than just being, hey, here's some super fast-paced missions, and then the one super long slow type. Also, that's dialogue we've technically heard before, so I don't care if I'm speaking over it. Whoopsie. Also, I know I complimented the HUD moving earlier, but I just realized they actually don't have an end to the sprite when Tron Bonne's portrait in the top left moves, so that's kind of glaring. Now, something I haven't quite looked into yet is how...
Miss Tron, look! It's a treasure box! Can we use the card key to open it? Alright, here we go! Miss Tron, we found an e-bottle number 2 inside! Good, let's keep it in case we need it later!
That particular e-bottle is potentially one of the most useful in the game. Mostly because if you're like me and you didn't bring in too many attack type serve bots, the boss of this particular level can be kind of damage frenzy-ish. Thankfully though, in the case you take damage during the trap rooms, we're about to be introduced to a new mechanic to these stages.
Miss Tron, look! Something shining over here! We're in luck! That's an Aurora fountain! I can recharge the Finkel's energy by going inside it! That's good news! If we get in trouble, we should come back here!
So now we have health restoring pools. I think this mission has 2, as does each of the next missions of this type. And I'm not sure if they ever run out, honestly, because the Finkel just has so little health to begin with.
Uh-oh! Miss Tron, it's those birds that were below again! Loathe? What are they doing down here? Miss Tron, we should get out of here!
Oh no! You're not going anywhere! Give up now!
And now we got a mini-boss against the bird bot. With that said, it's about the same if you tried to attack one of these guys in the farm mission. And this is another case where if you have more attack type, I almost keep saying metabots. Why do I keep doing that? Serve bots, it'll go down much more easily. But that said, unlike the farm missions, we can't capture this one for 500 or how much Zenny. It's just here to be an annoyance, really. Also, again, how did you get in here? Unless they're the ones who caved in the cave. In which case, that means those kids were trapped in here by them. And that's a whole different argument of horrid humanity. Sounds about right in character for this game. Oh, and speaking of people trapped in by potential cave-ins, hello there. Another NPC.
Is something the matter?
I was trapped.
Ooh, so we were able to help you get out! That's great!
Thanks. Here, take this. It's a gate key.
Thank you very much! Miss Tron, look! She gave us a gate key! That's nice! See? It's good to help people when they're in trouble, isn't it?
Nice to meet you. Have you seen Dig around here?
He's dead!
The last thing I want is to be buried alive.
How does one even begin to frequently get trapped in cave-ins as it is? I mean, hell, it's not like anyone's going around the island setting off frequent explosions and causing chaos around the island. Am I the cause of this? Am I trapping all these people in here with my robbing? Maybe I'm the villain. Nah. Actually, no, we are unabashedly the villains of this game. What am I talking about? We steal. But depending on the country you're in, that makes you a politician. Either way, this is another area I actually recommend you check out because, as you may have seen on the wall there, we have a very similar looking graphic. It's time for another one of Uncle Dig's tips and part of that little ongoing quest line within these missions. I don't think it's ever necessary to beat the game, but hey, it's helpful.
It says Uncle Dig's tips. Oh, well, why don't you read it then? Yes, Miss Tron.
How is your crystal collection coming? If you can collect all 3, you will find the elixir of youth. Although I don't know what or where it is. Still, it can't hurt to collect all the crystals.
It looks like he doesn't know much about this elixir either. There's a green crystal here, Miss Tron. Shall we pick it up? Yes. I just hope this elixir's worth all this trouble. Let's move on.
You know, I could say the same thing about these missions. I hope they're worth the trouble in the end.
Yay! Miss Tron, the gate's locked. Should we use the gate key to open it? Okay.
And honestly, I'm still not sure if they are. Now, one thing I should say ahead of time, I forget if I already mentioned it, but the boss of this area takes a while, so I do end up speeding it up. I forget if I already said the contrary earlier, because the first 15 or so minutes of this were recorded on a different day than the latter 45 plus due to thunderstorms cropping up in my area. Now that's no good for audio stuff. And I want to apologize for one thing that at least it looks like is happening on the editor side. I'm not sure if it's going to happen in the actual finalized video because sometimes RAM is a problem and all that for editors. It makes frames drop when they shouldn't. It looks like there's some weird artifacting happening on certain parts of the screen during that, and I'm not sure what the exact cause is.
What are you doing? Are you waiting for someone?
All of us wait for something.
What? This place is just full of weird people.
My name is Tuttle. This lake is a trap. There's more here than meets the eye.
Ooh! Ignore him. Let's go!
Don't you see? No one tries to understand it. That's why it's a mystery. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's one of nature's laws. Even a child knows every trap has a switch.
Well, you're an asshole. Professor... What's a good parody name for Professor Layton? Professor Layman? Yeah. Also, here's something cute. Swimming surf bots. There's actually a couple of other cases of this sort of just adorable interaction with the environment throughout the game, even in like the other Gustav missions. I'm just not showing off for time. But hey, I recommend you explore around and check it out. The game's got a lot of details in it.
Welcome to Zig and Zag's Quiz Corner. If you answer correctly, we'll open the locked doors for you. Do you want to play?
I wish I didn't have to, but I do, so yes.
All right, question 1. What is the name of the treasure in this cave?
All right, that's an Aurora Stone.
Correct! Next, question 2. What's the name of the incompetent digger?
I could say any of your names here, but Dance is the only one that fits the answers given.
Correct! Next, question 3. What's the name of the digger who carries a pick?
Again, that should probably describe most diggers, but that's mod in this case.
Correct. Next, question 4. What's the name of the digger who writes notes?
Again, hopefully they're all writing notes, but in this case, it's Dig, though I do like to shout out to Beryl.
Next, question 5. What color of switch stops a steel ball trap?
If you're not paying attention, this is actually very easy to miss. Ball traps are stopped by blue switches.
Next, question 6. What color of switch stops a fire trap?
And this one can be done with just guessing at that point. It's red.
Next, question 7. Which key opens a locked room?
I wonder if it's the room key.
Correct. Next, question 8. What's the color of the first Aurora stone you found?
Blue. How do you know I found the Aurora Stone? Is me selling it off just island news or something? What?
Correct. Next, question 9. How many times do you have to dig to get here?
That's something you have to pay attention to. Yeah, you've dug 5 times through holes to get here.
Correct. Last question. It's a hard one. What's the name of this island?
Here's the thing, the game never actually tells you what the name of the island is at this point. It's not Cadillacs, because that's Legend 1. It's damn not Capcom, but if you check the manual, you'll learn it is Ryship Island. Ryship, Riship, I can't remember how it's pronounced off the top of my head. Either way, that's the correct answer if you check the manual.
Correct. Congratulations, a perfect score. We'll open all the doors for you. How was it? Did you have fun?
Oh, you silly child. No.
Really? Boy, you're no fun, are you?
Oh, screw off. Now, here's the really annoying thing about all of that. You need to answer some of those questions correctly in order to actually reach the boss. And if you get a question wrong, in order to redo that test and get them all open again, or get all the answers right, you have to replay the entire mission. I should note, we've been in here for more than 15 minutes at this point, so that means a lot of just replaying the same shit over and over again. I do not like that quiz.
Miss Tron, did you hear that? It sounded like it came from back there. It's from the direction of the lake. Let's go check it out. Yes, Miss Tron.
We'll investigate that in a moment, though I should note, in the case you want to go back to an earlier part of the cave, you can now very easily through the top right door. With that said, now we have another trap room of Reaverbots, and it's the exact same Reaverbots, only I think there's more in this one? Ultimately, the same strategies work. Stay in a corner away from them and beacon bomb them from a distance in case one starts getting away from, running towards you. Get away from it when it gets too close and then go in on the offensive. It's more annoying than anything, and if anything, this is actually one of the only 3 required fights against Reaverbots in this particular level, counting the boss fight in that one we saw much earlier on, I think near the Lightnium. And this one actually does give you a reward for fighting, so you're damn right it's worth it. Because in here we have a locked treasure chest.
Hey, Miss Tron, look! It's a treasure box! Can we use the card key to open it? Alright, here we go! Miss Tron, we found something that looks like a drill inside! That's a super drill! Attach it to the servbot borer! Yes, Miss Tron!
And there we get the super drill, which makes the servbot borer do a little bit more damage, and I want to say it also might increase its digging speed. Don't quote me on that last part. That might just be my brain inventing things that don't actually exist, like it tends to in life anyway. Now, the boss that we're here to actually fight and end the level is to our west right now. But obviously, we hit that switch, and that did something at the lake, so we should definitely go check that out first. And trust me, I do recommend doing this first. In fact, I forget if you actually have to or not. I already forget what's in here, and that's kind of sad. How you feeling, dude?
I can't swim.
Oh, karma. Asshole. I don't know why. Seeing that reaction from him is probably one of my favorite reactions in the game, though.
Miss Tron, look! It's a treasure box! Can we use the card key to open it? Alright, here we go! Miss Tron, we found a room key inside! Alright, we can use that to get into the treasure room!
Okay, so it is required. Good thing I could clearly edit myself out saying the wrong thing. No, I'm gonna leave it in. Screw it. I believe that means you need to get at least 3 questions right here. I am actually not certain which doors open to which questions.
Yay! Miss Tron, the door's locked! Should we use the room key to open it? Please do! I wonder what's inside. I can't wait to find out! Nest. We can destroy all of them! Oh, yes, you can! And you're going to! Let's get them! Yes, Miss Tron?
Alright, the boss of the second RPG level is some recolors of the Autokoitan Raverbots, I believe is what they're called. I think these ones in specific are called, like, Colt Koitans and Jeep Koitans. Now the massive green ones walking towards you certainly is threatening, but they're actually super slow and not the real thing you're supposed to be targeting here. You're trying to target the one that's always fleeing away from you in the background there on the left. That's firing out some fire a little bit just to keep itself on the defensive. That is your actual target here, and this is especially where having bazooka or grenade type serve bots can come in handy, because just having 2 standard ones and the one on the serve bot borer means that this fight can take a while, to the point that I'm going to start fast-forwarding this in a moment, because otherwise we would be here for a bit too much longer than I would like us to be. My only advice for this is just always stay on the move, as even though the green ones are definitely slow, they are still always slowly moving towards you. So if you're not on the move, you will eventually get enmassed by them. Or rather, enveloped by the mass of them, and that means you can take a lot of damage super quickly, and since the Finkel doesn't have much in the way of health, it's very easy to potentially die here if you're paying too much attention to them rather than the one. I forget if you can even damage the green ones to do damage to the actual boss fight, because I've done this strategy basically every time I played it since I noticed it super early on. So I forget exactly what happens in that case. I want to say they're invulnerable, though. Otherwise, though, this fight's just kind of slow, and it's during this speed up that the artifacting I noticed happens, so I apologize if that does show up in the final video. The fight itself isn't hard, it's just tedious, I would say, compared to the first Finkel boss fight, which I actually kind of liked, because you had the traps to deal with that allowed you to lead the enemy into ways to do more damage to it. This one's just a mass of following it and hoping you have the right serve bot layouts to potentially do a lot of damage quickly. And, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that. Well, that said, like all boss fights, as long as you're keeping your health up, it goes down eventually.
Did it, Miss Tron? Look! It's a giant refractor! This is the second Aurora Stone. It must be worth at least 150,000 zeti! This is great! Hooray! Now all we need is the third one! That's the spirit! I'm counting on you! Roger!
I think my thoughts on that are pretty clear if you watched the LP thus far. On a first playthrough, the RPG missions are fine. I think they're pretty cute and you get some funny dialogue along the way. On repeat playthroughs, they're just tedious. With that said, they're pretty decent for Zenny if you go for everything along the way, because you get some pretty good stuff from the Aurora Stones. With that, though, now let's talk about what I'm doing between this mission. Or wait, actually, no. Do I do things? Yes, I do. Because the lightning we got there is pretty important, because it pairs well with another item we got earlier, that a high-density tank. What we want to do is talk to number 30. What is it this time, number 30? If we want to add more tanks to the goo stuff, we have to make them lighter somehow. Lighter, huh? Well, it's a good thing we just got lightnium.
Wow, isn't this lightnium? It's supposed to be the lightest metal known. If we use this, we can make more E-tanks for the goo stuff.
And with that, we now have another E-tank available, but we're not done yet. Miss Tron, we learned how to make E-tank number 5. If you can spare the Zenny, I think you should have us build one. Alright, they want me to actually buy it first. That's a little bit of weird railroading stuff, because you need to buy E-tank 5 for E-tank 6 to be technically available. And also, as you can see, from the second robbery mission I did last part, I ended up getting enough tires and alarms to cut down costs tremendously. Riot shields especially, you want to use in sparsity, because you can cut a lot of costs off. Also got refractor ore, I'll be using that for something eventually. Now let's talk to number 30. What are you thinking about now, number 30?
Well, if we want to put any more tanks on the goo stuff, they need to be smaller.
So what you're saying is they need to be more dense. In that case, what about the high density tank we got at the start of the part?
What do you think? Is it small enough? You bet. It's small enough we should be able to get it on the goo stuff, no problem.
You should attach it right away. So now we can buy the next level of E-tank. With that said, this is not the end of the energy tanks, because if I check the development menu again after that, you'll see there's another one that costs way too much for me right now. Don't worry, we'll be getting that eventually. As it is, our health is ridiculously high. Now, before we head off to the next mission, always make sure you get a scout set out, just so you can get some extra income, even though it's usually relatively minor. And let's head on off. This time around, I'd say it's time we head after the crates in Mission 2 once again, just so we can finish off the main missions for Mission 2. Because every mission only has 3 levels to it, but you can still do them again after that in case you want excess Zenny.
Alright, let's get this mission meeting started.
This is probably the most different of the level 2 missions, honestly.
This time we're going after something special. They've delivered TVs at Tesh. Yay, TVs! Do they have cable too? Quiet! No, they don't. Now listen up. We're really going to have to think this time. There's a lot more containers in the way. We might have to rethink our plans once we get to the harbor. Yes, Miss Tron. Alright then, let's get going. Yay! Just so you know, we're not keeping any of the TVs. We're going to sell them all, okay?
Oh, adorable. And this is definitely the one I would recommend you do before you do any of the level 6 missions, even though I've already started them in this LP. Because the new mechanic we're going to see in this one can cause enough problems if you're not used to it that getting used to its kind of difficulty will help with level 6 when we get to that again.
Alright, let's get to work. This time, we're here to get some colored TVs. Miss Tron, look over there. The ground's moving. That's called a conveyor belt. They're common in places like this. You'll get carried along if you stand on one, but maybe we can use it to our advantage. Don't worry about it. Let's get to work. Yes, Miss Tron.
Okay, so the new mechanic we have for the 3rd level is conveyor belts. And they work as you'd expect. You slide alongside them, but compared to some other ones, they're a bit finickier. Obviously, they only work when you're on top of them, but you also don't shift the direction you're facing when you're on top of them as such. I'm still facing upwards, so that doesn't mean I have to take an extra step moving that. Plus, as you may have noticed, it doesn't take you to the final square the conveyor belt is on. It takes you to the square in the direction that the conveyor belt is next. so I get dropped off to the left of it. That is very key to know, because if you're not paying attention to that, you might accidentally waste a step going the wrong direction first, or over/underthinking the puzzles in such a way where you try to compensate for that lack of extra step. I've had that happen on several playthroughs, and it's stumped me before. With that said, while the conveyor belt is technically a hazard, it's also technically a blessing, because most of the crates in these 3 stages are further away from the boat than we can walk to with our 10-step limit. Using the conveyor belt, though, we have a way to actually get there in time. At least for like the first half of each mission. Sometimes you end up making a bridge, and then you just go around another way. That block there, placing that there to make this bridge, has actually stumped me in a couple of playthroughs as well, as something I seldom do in these levels, but can be helpful, is rotating the camera by entering the beacon bomb. And if you're not paying attention, you might not think to put a block immediately behind something you can't see, at the default camera angle at least. Because that's gotten me a lot. Despite there being relatively few of these missions in the game, let's see, 3 per level, 3, 9, 18 each-ish, with slightly different mechanics in the second half due to the forklift thing. They get surprisingly brain stumpy, which is again why I think this would make a great mobile game on the modern mobile market. Just because it has the right kind of gameplay style for that. Something you do a stage of across maybe 5 minutes, and then put down for the rest of the day until you're next on a bus ride or whatever you commute to work on. I think this could be really well done. Now, whether or not Capcom will ever do anything with that is another question entirely. Although with Mega Man X Dive getting some Mega Man Legends stuff more recently, I guess anything is possible. I wonder if that's ever going to come to the States, Mega Man X Dive. It looks interesting. It's still a gacha, so I'm not super into it as it is, but I'd be more inclined to play that than certain other gachas. Looking at some of the big names like Grand Blue or freaking even Fire Emblem Heroes to an extent. Like, I played that the first month or so, but that was about it because I just had other things to do and I don't play many games on my phone. Brave Exvius for Final Fantasy was alright though. Kingdom Hearts Key shouldn't be as lore important as it is, but here we are. With that said, there's only so much you can say about this level type, barring the addition of the forklift, because it comes down to take your time, and if you have to, use the ability to go back a step or restart the round if you have to, because you were free to and there's no punishment for doing so. It's kind of like the special stages in Sonic 4 Episode 1 in particular, because yeah, you can screw those up and get sent on to the next level, but as long as you press start before hitting the goal blocks, you're fine. Because when you hit the goal blocks, or rather when you press start in the special stages in that game, there's just a straight up reset button, allowing you to start the special stage again in the case you're running out of time or otherwise. Meaning that there's no real way to ever lose them. And God, I hope I remember saying that when I get to that LP. Because if I screw up by not pressing start in time, I'm going to be heavily embarrassed. This being the final stage on Mission 3, though, is definitely the most complicated one, because this is where they start to introduce conveyor belts that aren't continuous. In the case a conveyor belt is blocked in the direction it's going, you won't move anywhere. With that said, if you pick up something that is blocking the way, like I did early on in the stage with an iron block, the way becomes clear and you can move. It's actually one of the few ways you can move while having an iron block above you. If you keep that in mind, the stage becomes relatively simple. Just make sure, again, you're not holding or mashing the D-pad too much and accidentally waste one of your precious 10 steps, because otherwise you're probably going to have to restart the stage, since, especially later on, the step count gets pretty strict with how much you're allowed leeway. Because each one of these stages technically has 1 or 2 minor changes you can do to the route, but generally these are the ways they want you to solve them. And even then, those leeways are usually found earlier on in the first of the 3 stages. of each set, even as it is.
That's the last of the containers, Miss Tron. We got them all. Okay, let's head back to the castle shaft. Yes, Miss Tron.
Alright, that's the end of the original missions of that type. So now, from here on out, we're not doing more original stuff, but we're definitely doing other things. I will say, I think the cargo stages are definitely the most original in the game, because you seldom have to redo old portions of stages in order to get further into them. With that said, those servbots have been getting lazy all video, so now let's actually talk about what that does. That ties into the sloth value on every single servbot. If a servbot's sloth value is filled, they won't do shit on missions, and we need to get them back in line. Meet the torture room. This room has interesting looking equipment in it. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about what you might get to do with it. I think I was spending a lot of time in here. If you say so? I don't want to know about your hobbies, number 20. If a servbot like number 35 has a full sloth menu, we can do things with them in here. No, I don't want an explanation, I'll say it myself. Please forgive me, Miss Tron! No, I'm going to teach you not to goof off. Are you ready? Go! This is essentially a massive QuickTime event. By pressing, I forget if it's the face buttons or the D-pad off the top of my head because I'm not playing the game right now. When the servbot gets to the respective part of the screen near the weight, the spikes, or the fire trap, you can cause them some physical pain. Each time you do that within the time limits, that bar on the top right lowers, and in order for their sloth to be completely removed, you need to empty that all the way. This can actually get kind of precise because you need to make sure you only miss like once or twice with the traps. But in the case you get it all, their sloth bar is reduced back to 1. Well, have you learned your lesson? I won't goof off again, I promise! Depending on how you go through the game, you might have to do this a lot or a little. We'll see how we go moving forward, because this is only the first time I've had to do in the entire LP, and who knows how many parts are left. I'm estimating 2 or 3, maybe 4 at most. With that, now I'm gonna build E-Tank 7, because I have the cash, really. And I forget if there's another one beyond that in the top of my head. I think there is, but hell if I know. I'm not future me, I haven't recorded the next footage yet. I'm doing the 9th anniversary special thing first. With that, though, now it's time for us to go back to our next mission type. We're going to be heading back to the farm, because I figure we've done 2 of the robbery missions. Let's do 2 of the farm missions. It's just nice, equal exchange there. You know, it's not equal exchange at all, but, oh well, I say things, and sometimes they say the right things. My brain doesn't work sometimes. Alright, let's get this mission meeting started. This time, we're going after the cows on the ranch. Yay, cows! Fresh milk! We can make yogurt! Or ice cream! No, I've already told you that's not what we're after. All you have to do is load the cows I shoot with a beacon bomb into the truck, okay? They'll probably try to stop us again, but we'll handle them like we did last time. Let's go! Yes, Miss Tron. And as I go about my various servbot changes, this is where a problem I mentioned earlier in this very video becomes very apparent with Tron Bonne's level design, and it's a very minor complaint, if anything, especially with how Legends 1 and 2 worked. But for this kind of game, it can be kind of glaring, depending if you've played other things of this variety, which I know are out there somewhere. I forget, do I usually cut this menu out? I can't remember. That's the problem with LPing a game over the course of a year plus. Sometimes you forget exactly how you edit things. Shrug.
Look, it's another piggy. Where are the cows?
I don't see any cows.
The cows must be in another pasture in a different part of the ranch. Shall we go find them? You bet. Keep your eyes open, though. Those bird bots may come looking for another fight. Aye, Yay, ma'am! Ma'am?
And what I mean by a problem with this game's level design is at the start of basically every mission variety of that specific type that's not like the cargo stages because they are stage-based as it is, you have to redo the earlier portion of that level type. Like, we're back where we did farm stage 1 right now. And there are some pros to this. You can get some extra zenny through this by destroying and raiding all the houses we've seen before, capturing the pigs or the bunnies that we got back in stage 1. But ultimately it comes across as not quite padding, but definitely a thing of they designed these more as probably individual stages and split them into separate stages from there kind of vibe. Again, it's good for zenny, especially from the apples, because you can raid all the trees for apples again. It's just a little bit distracting to me. And again, it's super minor, because Legends 1, you're trekking all over the same areas again, trying to find new items in the ruins. Legends 2, you're going through the dungeons and the towns over and over again for side quest stuff, potentially. It's not anything too unusual for this particular sub-series for Mega Man, or even potentially for this kind of game in general. It's just a little distracting for the action stages in particular. Given that these have a very different structure from standard Mega Man Legends stuff. Although I will say, I think in terms of being 3D Mega Man, these are better at being 3D Mega Man than Mega Man X7's 3D sections, because, oh boy, those are bad. I'll get to that game eventually. And at this point, I'm holding it off until... No, wait, shit, no, the reason I was holding it off is done now, because I got the program on my newer laptop. Shit. Although I should note, this is actually a little bit of an awkward setup for me right now for recording this, because I've been recording at least commentary and editing on my newer laptop recently, and I've had to go back to Camtasia Studio 7 just to make sure this LP looks consistent, and it's weird going back from Camtasia 2020. I love my new computer. It's great for editing. I don't use it as much for recording gameplay. I'm still going to use this laptop for that, I think, as I've said in some other video over the time. But it's weird. Also, make sure you grab as many bird bots as you can along the way. Technically speaking, you can grind for them infinitely, because the bird robots that the bird bots are within spawn infinitely during this section. But that's just a waste of time, given that each bird bot's only 500 zenny as it is. Just get the ones you can along the way, and then focus more on your main objective from there. If anything, they're more annoying because they'll stop the serve bots. Although, again, I do just like to picture that Loth/Glide is having to buy them back from us with just the most angry eyes and facial expression you could think from him, while Tron and all the gang are looking super sarcastic about it. Also, the fact that there are potentially unlimited bird bot supplies being taken down by a total of 40 serve bots, not sure if that shows that the bird bots are of lower quality, or if the serve bots are just too powerful for their size. They might be few in number, but they make up for it in infinite power. With that, though, we're finally about to approach the new section of this particular level, because once we get towards the gate just to... There's no map here, so I'm not sure if that direction to my left is north or not, but to my north is where the next door we want to reach is. Also, I'm not exactly certain if you try to leave a map while in these areas, if the serve bots will finish whatever delivery they're making to the truck at that time. Like right now, I'm getting those two bird bots over to there. I'm not certain if I had gone to the next area where the main part of the new part of the mission is, rather, if these two bird bots still would have been delivered off screen or not. I'm gonna err on the caution. That's why I'm coming over here to make sure they get delivered and say they wouldn't be. And again, for only 500 zenny, that's not much, but in the case you were gathering the pigs or the bunnies, I would suggest waiting a moment just to be safe, because I'm not sure. And admittedly, the new section of the mission is interesting, I think is the way to put it. Because the thing we're looking for this time around is cows. The cows, you can shoot them to stun them for a second, but the moment you do that, they make a beeline for you. And while they won't do too much damage for my current health total, it's enough to be worried at lower health totals. The big annoyance here, though, if I turn around, you'll see it. There are some weird egg-shaped robots in this section of the farm. And the moment you send the serve bots after the cow, or rather right after a serve bot starts riding the cow to get it over to the truck, those bots will awaken and just start making a direct beeline for that serve bot like this. And if you're not quick on the draw with your whatever gun you're using, be it the standard cannon, the Gatling gun, or the missile launcher, that will just waste precious time, and really, there's nothing more annoying than that. Plus, if they get trapped behind the cow like these two are, hitting them without hitting the cows can be annoying. As you may have seen, though, by the flying robots going over my top of my head, these particular robots also spawn infinitely, so yeah, just get this done as soon as you can so that you are done with it sooner rather than later. I know it's kind of a no Sherlock moment, but I've had a playthrough where I think I was here for like 10 minutes trying to get these damn cows, but the little egg robots were just spawning and getting to the worst positions by the end of their attack cycle that I just couldn't grab the damn cow. Also, it doesn't help that when the cows charge at you if you hit them, they go right back to where they were when you hit them for some reason. Instead of just standing still, I figure that's just to make them more annoying than anything, because if they stayed where they were at the end of the charge, you could potentially goad them towards the truck. And really, that gets rid of the level now, doesn't it? I think that's probably their logic. I think it's kind of dumb.
You got them all? Good! Let's move on to the other part of the ranch! Yes, Miss Tron!
The next part of the ranch actually has something pretty funny to me, in that while there's still the usual pink/blue bird bots that spawn infinitely, we have a new enemy variety here. Man. And by that I mean the person I think they imply to be the main farmer of the ranch. He will chase you down and try to attack you. With that said, he gets knocked down pretty easily. I will warn you, though, that he does technically do damage in the most chip damage of ways. If he's long, he'll get back up after a while. When he does that, just aim at him again, and you'll take care of him pretty easily. If anything, he's here more to be a joke than an actual threat. But again, in the case you're doing a specialty run or you're just not upgrading your health enough, I'd be careful all the same. What do you mean I also have armor that makes me take like half damage? Shut up. I know I'm breaking the game's difficulty, because this game's not exactly hard unless you're playing on hard mode. And even if I forget how hard mode handles the difficulty in this game, if it's a damage increase or an item decrease. Because certain games handle it different ways. Some games you just take more damage to have the same resources. Other games cut the resources you have and make you take the same amount of damage. It depends on the game, which fits best, rather, depends on the game. I think in this game's case, I think it's a damage increase, though. That's the correct course, at least. But I also don't remember, because I honestly seldom play Legends games on hard mode. I think I did it maybe once or twice at most for Legends 1 at this point in my life, just because I wanted to get easy mode and say, haha, die to the game, basically. Because easy mode in Legends 1, it's kind of fun from the ridiculous how overpowered you are angle. But there's something about it that just feels lesser. It might be the fact that you just don't have to interact with the world nearly as much on that playthrough. It just doesn't feel right to me because of that. Either way, once you get the 6th cow in, you are mostly good for this mission.
1, 2, 3. Miss Tron, we got all the cows! Good work! Let's get out of here! Miss Tron! We must be after the truck. Come on! We've got to keep away from the truck!
Alright, mini-boss against one of Glide's weird little ATST walkers. This thing will follow the trunk and basically hammer itself into it to do damage, but as long as you basically gain the aggro from it by shooting it, your Gatling gun can do enough damage to it quickly enough that it doesn't really become much of a threat. The Bonne bazooka does that even faster.
Let's go home! Yes, Miss Tron!
All right, and that's the second farm mission. It's longer, a little more tedious at the start due to the reused stuff, but ultimately it's still relatively easy. As the robbery missions in this game kind of tend to be, now that I think about it. Still, you can get a hefty amount of money from this. Those 70 apples alone are going to sell for a lot for me. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. And I didn't really talk about much throughout the video because I had a lot of actual gameplay stuff to talk about. But I'd like to thank you guys a lot for sticking with the channel for 9 years. I know I'm a little bit late at this point, getting close to a week later probably at this point. Again, I've just been distracted by some other things. Trust me, 2 more videos of this will be coming out within the next month at the least for the 270 and 280 sub specials because I just want to... Every time someone subs, I just get super happy. And the fact that you guys have stuck with me for this long when this is basically just a hobby, like I don't even monetize my videos anymore. Anytime you see ads on more recent videos, that's because they got claimed. It brings a joy to my heart that I can't even begin to describe. Thank you guys so much. In part 5 of Tron Bonne, though, more missions. Plain and simple. I think we do more of the crates in mission 6. I'm not quite sure yet. I have to look back at my notes. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys then.